Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Well, we've known about Biden's dog biting Secret Service agents, but it's just come out here, Washington Post. This is February 22nd. Biden's dog bit Secret Service agents about 24 times, 24 times, before they removed it. These are all the articles here about it. The dog's name is Commander.
President Joe Biden's dog, Commander, had at least 24 biting incidents with U.S. Secret Service agents before being moved out of the White House, prompting the Secret Service to adjust operating protocols at not only the White House, but also Camp David.
This dude's wearing, it looks like he's wearing something like a dog-proof.
And Biden's Delaware homes, according to internal documents. The documents themselves were first obtained by John Greenwald of the government transparency group, The Black Vault, through a Freedom of Information Act request. The documents detail Secret Service agents' efforts to work around the German Shepherd and catalog each individual biting incident. The documents mention.
Okay, so first of all, German Shepherds are great dogs. They're great security dogs. They're really smart, and they are trained really easily, and they're used in the military and, other places, right? So there's that. The American government, police, the American government, military are well aware of how to train German Shepherds, right? And they're easily trainable dogs. And so the fact this dog is biting people around the president, right, is a huge problem because it's not the dog, it's the owner. In this case, it's the owner. And so when you get a dog, you need to learn how to train it. I mean, it's a responsibility, and you have to train it to the needs of your particular situation. Like my dog's Papillons naturally heel. Like we'd walk down the beach, go for any kind of a walk, and our dogs just will follow and heel. One of them will run out in front because she's a little bit rambunctious. But Buddy and the original dog Farley my wife had and her previous Papillons all naturally healed because they trained in such a way. I mean, they're just a really good breed. But if you have a dog like of this nature, we've talked about getting a German Shepherd as we love dogs to have dogs, but also, be a working dog. Like I had a Border Collie, and the Border Collie just wanted to, a Border Collie named Lucy. I'll put that picture in here. She, wonderful dog. She was part Border Collie. We got her as a rescue dog. But, she wouldn't go to the bathroom in the pasture. And so we had a small pasture. We had a farm. And before we had a pasture, it was just a yard. And we turned it into a pasture. And it was 3-acre property. And we had a little bit of woods. And I'd have to walk with her to the woods. And if I didn't walk with her, she wouldn't go to the woods and go to the bathroom. I mean, she's so well trained. And so I had to do that on a regular basis. And she was always looking at me like, put me in, coach, because the Border Collies are such attuned to their owners. And I eventually kind of trained her a little bit to herd the cows. It was kind of not great. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I also played Frisbee with her, trained her to catch a Frisbee because they're great dogs at doing that. But she was a working dog. Like there's people who get dogs that are bred to be a certain kind of they have a role to play. And if you don't have the ability, if you're just living in some apartment somewhere and you bring them out on a leash, the dogs are suffering, right? Like you have to get a dog for the, appropriate, you have to be able to meet the dog's needs. My wife's friends with this woman, and the woman has a dog that's not like, it's like a Springer Spaniel. It's not that, something like that. It's one of those hyper dogs. And the dog needs to be run, and the woman's older, she just can't do it, right? And it's stuck in a, condo or apartment all day. And so, you have to pick the appropriate dog for your situation. And you're responsible to provide that dog with what it needs. Like anything that you have. Any kind of livestock, any kind of chicken, they have things that they need naturally to keep them healthy and like you see animals at zoos, right? And you shouldn't have animals that are suffering. Like if you have a cow, you should have a good pasture. You should have a place in the shade where they can avoid the heat. These types of things, right? Place where they can rub against like trees or something they can rub against, or they have like devices you can put out there. You just should, give the animal what it needs. I mean, if you're going to eat the animal or drink its milk or collect its eggs, you should put them in a situation where at least they have a good life, a good natural life. You protect them from predators the best way you can, these types of things. And, dogs even more so. Dogs are like a part of your family. And so if you have a dog of this nature, it should be trained. But it just shows you the kind of family, the kind of person Joe Biden is. And so then you have Secret Service agents who are the elite amongst the elite in police or, the intelligence community or the military. I mean, there's people who are well trained in what they do. They have to be disciplined and they have a very important job, not only in terms of protecting the president, but also they have other roles to play in the government in terms of, policing, whatever it might be. And they also travel to foreign countries and they have to, respect etiquette and they have to not do things that bring shame on the agency, right? They have to be disciplined and of higher character. And like I said, the military knows how to work with dogs and train dogs. So they had to do a workaround because this dog was ill behaved and was biting Secret Service agents. He was a biter, right? And, you can't have a dog like that, a biter. Like, once or twice, dogs get put down. There was a farm near my second farm, the one that my family and I put together, where all the videos original to this channel came from. And it was a liberal couple that was, they're kind of, I would call them on the liberal side of things. And they quit their regular jobs, or they were working, the wife worked from home, but they were devoted to having a farm and making really good food. They made all these things. They were good at, they were more like foodies. And they had all kinds of different animals. They bought one of our cows, a dairy cow. That's how we knew them. They had all these different chickens and gooses and eggs, and they had pigs and goats, and they did all these different things. And they really into food and foodie stuff. And they got a Great Pyrenees. And a Great Pyrenees is a wonderful, big, white, fluffy dog. But they chase anything with pointy ears, like wolves and coyotes. They'll kill a wolf or a coyote. They're big, right? And what you do is you put the animals in. There was a place where we got our goats, and the woman also had alpacas. And alpacas could be worth like 20 grand. And they have a long gestation period, like 14 months, over a year. And they're kind of fragile animals. And so she had goats, like Nigerian dwarf goats, that she would give let's say the mother alpaca couldn't nurse its baby. She would have goats to do that, and we bought some of her goats. And she had a border collie that she put in with the alpacas and the sheep, and the border collie grows up in the herd, and it thinks the herd is its family, and then it just protects the crap out of whatever's there. We had a Great Pyrenees for a little bit named Angel, but it had been on a line. It had been hooked up to a line, a chain, her whole life, and so she kept on escaping our pasture and causing havoc with our neighbors. So we had to give her away on Craigslist, right? Which was sad, but, it just had to happen. There's this time that she was chasing our neighbor's horse, which is a nightmare. And so I went to get her in the pickup truck, and she was covered in poop. And so like she had rolled around in horse poop. And I put her in the truck, and I hooked her collar very tightly to one of the hooks, but she jumped out of the truck. She's just freaking wild. And so I had to get out. She's choking, right? And I have to pick her up. She's a huge dog. And I have to pick her up, and like horse crap smeared all over me, like the whole thing. I don't know if I have any pictures of her, but I'll put them here if I do. But they're beautiful dogs, nice dogs, but, they'll chase stuff. And this farm, they got a couple of these Great Pyrenees, and one of them ran off and got 2 miles away from the house and killed a goose of a neighbor. And they took the dog, and she went before a judge, the woman of the farm, and they went before a judge, and the judge ordered the dog to be put down because it killed a goose, some neighbor's goose, and she was weeping, the woman, saying, "We'll give her away, we'll do anything we can, just please don't kill her." But they killed the dog, right? Dogs get put down for smaller level offenses, biting a person, dogs in general, acting out dogs don't do very well. and people have to put their own dogs down when they bite people and things like this. Joe Biden, no, he's above the rules. This shows the kind of person he is. These Secret Service agents who are doing, service to him and the government are getting bit, and they don't care about it. Like, it happens 24 times, and you're not going to do anything about it, right? And you expect the government and these people to figure out a way. They should be able to even train the dog now, and some of these people must be able to do that. Bring in a military dog trainer, somebody, right? Like a groomer, and but if dog bites people 5 times, it's just it's a wrecked dog. You've wrecked that dog, right? Like, that dog can't be around people. And what about when the dog's at home now? Is it biting people who work there, or with the mailman or whatever it is, right? Like, you can't do this. It just shows you the low level of consciousness and the suckiness of these clowns. Okay, so we know this guy, right? Look at these guys behind him. President Biden delivers remarks on border security during visit to Brownsville, Texas.
Crisis, and we're going to help folks rebuild themselves in the wake of these disasters, and we rebuild to the standards that are the up-to-date standards and building codes and the rest. Because if you fly over these areas that are burned to the ground, you'll see in the midst of 20 homes that are just totally destroyed, one home sitting there because it had the right roof on it. And anyway, since I took office, FEMA's provided
the right roof?
Texas alone over $13 billion. $13 billion in 3 years in disaster relief after fires and winter storms across this state. And when disasters strike, there's no red state or blue state where I come from. They're just communities and families looking for help.
Okay, so not where he comes from. There's no blue states. That they don't believe in blue states or red states. You live in the world of politics. You're a lifelong politician. That's all you ever know, right? Is red and blue. That's politicians speak. But they had the right roofs on. What does that even mean? Like, all these other homes were built in a substandard way, and they're more susceptible to wildfires because the roofs caught on fire because of the whatever. That's Jojo Magoo. This video is blowing up. People are talking about boycotting Kellogg starting April 1st. This is the kind of thing we need. Is this an April Fool's Day thing or what? This is a TikTok video that's now on Reddit.
So yesterday, the Kellogg CEO came out and said, oh, you know what, you guys are broke? Eat Frosted Flakes for dinner. That'll solve it all. After having the audacity to, explain that they've raised the price of all their products by 28% over the past few years because they could. They just want more profit. So my crazy-ass idea was for 2 months, we protest these corporations. Because there's really only 10 companies that fucking own it all, and we start with Kellogg. Why? Because you were the most recent dick, so congratulations, you get choose first. Choose.
Yeah, I said this years ago to boycott the companies that were canceling advertising on YouTube as a way to censor people. It didn't catch on. I don't know if this will catch on. Kellogg's is, I don't eat anything from Kellogg's, but, it is what it is. Boycott is the last refuge. If people actually do boycott, it would send messages to these companies, and we'll see if that works. Like, I have doubts it's going to work, but protests don't work. Talking about things and exposing the truth on the internet doesn't work to stop them from doing what they're doing. Boycotting might. Like, it seemed to work with Bud Light. And you could easily take down like a Walmart or any of these companies if you got just, if they lost just a couple of percentage points of their, they don't have a very big margin. And so, and then there's the brand damage as well that goes with it. So, I'm all supporting boycotts as a method to try to see if you can take companies down. And if companies cave to boycotts like Disney and all these companies, and then they have to stop doing this woke agenda and but I don't think they can. So I don't think boycotts will work, but we'll see. At least you give it a shot. Of course, I don't care about Kellogg's. I don't eat anything from Kellogg's, so I'm already boycotting Kellogg's, so it makes no difference to me. Breaking news, Biden 81 did not take a cognitive test during physical because he doesn't need it, the White House says. He doesn't need it. Like, we can all see it. Like, they're just so ridiculous. And the media that covers up for this. Biden doesn't need a cognitive test. Scientists are building tunnels under South Dakota for $3 billion experiment, $3 billion experiment that could solve some of the universe's grandest mysteries. Oh, we're all doomed. Neutrinos are particles that could hold secrets to some of the universe's biggest experience. The Dune Project hopes to learn more about these ghost particles, which are difficult to study. And so the project will beam neutrinos about 800 miles between Illinois and South Dakota. Yeah, we're screwed. It's totally worth $3 billion to create some sort of alternative universe or whatever they're going to do here. This is like CERN level stuff. Biden allies are stepping forward to vouch for him amid age questions. I don't know if I have it up here, but there were articles that he has to bring note cards into these meetings and things. He's gone mentally, right? We know it. Like, it's just obvious. It's been going on since, 2019. They knew when he was running for president, he had dementia, and they covered it up. And now they're dealing with this. He's not going to make it to the election. People say it's going to be Michelle Obama, and to me, that's just some right-wing paranoia. And if it happens, it happens. But I don't think it's going to be Michelle. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo addresses Power Women's Gathering at hedge funders New York City pad. That's a sentence. This guy, Andrew Cuomo, who was fired for sexually harassing women, but the real reason is because he put sick people in with people in nursing homes, and there was like 9,000 deaths that occurred, and then they gave the numbers and covered it up, but they didn't want all the lawsuits because it would bankrupt the state. So, so that happened. And now he's addressing women again. Russia's 2024 election interference has already begun. Let's just watch this here.
Report, Russia has already begun interfering in the 2024 election. According to former U.S. officials and cyber experts, Moscow has been using fake online accounts and bots to damage President Biden's campaign. Joining us now is NBC.
Because they need to do that. We'll get into this again here, but the thing that they claimed 2012 was Russia Today, which is a mediocre truther channel, which has very little. It's a lot of things that Russia Today says is stuff that's already available in the truth community, and Russia Today has no real influence because the people watching Russia Today were no way going to vote for Hillary Clinton. And so, I read that report that came out. It was a joint report from the FBI, the NSA, and the CIA. And it talks about Russia's interference in the election, and they didn't really have any real proof. They said things like, we have, with confidence or deep confidence or whatever it is, right? Different levels of confidence in this report, like these different sections of it. But they never said that they had factual evidence, or they couldn't show the evidence. And most of it was to do with the hacker that hacked the DNC, this guy Guccifer or whatever it was, right? This group over there, Grew and Guccifer, and it eventually was sent to WikiLeaks or whatever. And the stuff from the DNC that got hacked, it was the DNC's fault for getting hacked, right? That showed you their incompetence. They got hacked multiple times. Podesta got hacked, and they were blaming all that stuff on the Russians. But the stuff that was leaked, it really didn't affect the people who were already going to vote for Hillary Clinton. Like, these were people who were already going to vote for Trump for the most part, or not vote at all. And so, America, when they interfere with elections, Hillary Clinton had twice as much money as Donald Trump, and she had all but Fox News in terms of the mainstream media. She had an overwhelming advantage, and she had a ground game. She had, Trump was the new candidate, right? And so the Russians did next to nothing, where Americans have changed regimes and rigged elections in other countries for years, right? Like, that's what we've done. And that's why I always talk about behaviors. When you're whining about a behavior that you do, America rigs and fixes elections and does regime change and kills leaders and puts in puppet leaders all the time. It's been documented, admitted to finally after so many years, Operation Ajax in Iran with this moderate leader named Mossadegh, and America went in and wrecked that country. I've talked about that so much, right? And so don't whine about when somebody else does it, right?
ABC News national security reporter Dan Delo. Dan, welcome. So tell us more about the tactics that Russia's using to interfere with our election. And
oh, my God, it's interference with election. They're just so
particularly those targeting President Biden.
That's right, Alex. So really, it is a continuation of what we saw beginning 8 years ago, which is Russia really trying to influence.
Okay, just be honest. Say the things that I said. I'm not saying Russia isn't doing that, but admit that we do the same thing. If what Russia is doing is very nominal, right? If you were running for president and you could have the mainstream media, which sucks, it still sucks, but it's the mainstream media, or you could have Russia on your side. If you could have MSNBC and CNN and Fox News and the rest of the media, local, the network news and things like this, if you could have all those media and newspapers on your side, and they were telling everyone how great you were and covering up that you were senile and disparaging the other guy and saying he's a criminal, or you could have Russia on your side, which would you pick? Right? Like, both of the things are wrong. Both of the things are dishonest, but one's better than the other. I'm not saying better in terms of behavior. One has a better advantage. One is a better asset. Russia is a less of an asset than the mainstream media being for Biden, right? The mainstream media being for Clinton and Biden is a bigger advantage than having Russia on your side. U.S. airman dies after self-immolating outside of Washington Israeli embassy. So a guy set himself on fire outside the embassy there. U.S. Air Force member dies, the same article here. Setting himself on fire at Israel embassy in D.C. yelling, "Free Palestine." Netanyahu says a ceasefire deal would only delay Israeli offensive in Rafah. Yeah, there's no ceasefire is just up to Israel because Palestine doesn't have an army, right? It's up to 30,000 people now, 30,000 Palestinians that are dead. Most of them a good portion of them are children, people under the age of 18. Biden butchers line at the Lincoln's inaugural address after saying, I want to make sure I get this quote right.
And stand here in front of this portrait of the man behind me here. He said, and I want to make sure I get the quote exactly right. He said, the better angel, he said, we must address the council and address the better angels of our nature. And we do well to remember what else he said. He said, we're not enemies, but we're friends. It's the middle.
Wow, he was so articulate. Boy, that Lincoln, he could really twist a sentence. He could really put together a sentence.
In the part of the Civil War, he said, we're not enemies, but we're friends. We must not be enemies. Folks, and I've been around, I know I don't look it, I've been around a long while.
Yeah, you have. That was brutal. Scammers selling fake copies of Savannah Guthrie's faith-based book after it topped the charts and sold out. Savannah Guthrie is a nightmare. I can't believe that she has the ability to sell books. Mostly What God Does is the name of the book. And she doesn't strike me as a spiritual person, certainly, even a religious person. But she sold this book out, which means that people are looking for, I can't imagine people would buy Savannah Guthrie's book. They're buying it because it's about God and people are thirsting for God. There's a craving there. I don't know. It's just, like, she's, to me, very unlikable. I guess she's been on the show for a while. Maybe she has some sort of a fan base. But the faith-based part, I showed you, on my other channel, Podcast Now channel, I did something about her and Hoda. Hoda getting the book, and it was, weird. But I don't consider her a real spiritual person. And she wrote this book, and people are buying it. because people just want God. Like, people are missing God in their lives, right? Gaza death toll tops 30,000. Is Israel on a path to victory or a quagmire? No, they want the place. They're not going to stop until they get it, right? If God promised you something and it goes far beyond, or I should say, if you think God promised you something, it goes far beyond Palestine. Here's, Israel. This is a greater Israel area. Syria, a little bit of Turkey, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, whatever country this is here, I guess it's part of the Persian Gulf, bordering with Iran and Egypt. This is what they believe God promised them. This is the Israel of the Bible. This is their promised land, all of it. It's not just a little piece the UN gave to them. And so if they actually believe that, and, you look at all this area here, you have a little bit of Turkey, you have the Mediterranean Sea up here, a little bit of Turkey, you have a big portion of Iraq, you have Saudi Arabia, down to the Persian Gulf, and Egypt. Now you have both sides of the Red Sea. You have, the Mediterranean Sea, a good portion of that, with all this oceanfront property here, right? I mean, it's, you got a little bit now of the Persian Gulf even. So that's all you got, that's access to areas in the Persian Gulf where they do a lot of shipping that direction. So you have, now you have a country that's bordering 3 oceans, 3 seas, and you have the ability to, it's just, it's all those resources, all the oil, all these things. And so, of course, they would want that land. And those who are Zionists believe that God promised them that land. That's their belief system. And so that's all that they're never going to accept anything less. This is their last chance. And if they make Palestine into a state, if it's a 2-state solution, they won't even get the rest of Palestine, right? They'll only get, what they have, and that'll be it. And any incursion into Palestinian land will be seen as, maybe an act of war for that whole region. And when the United States go down, they don't have a like the big brother there to help them. The United States is going to hit, hard times in the near future. So this is their last chance. I said this before. That's why they're not caving. They're going for it, right? They want to get the Gaza Strip and then work on the rest of it. It'd be nice if somebody asked them that question. What do you consider the land that God promised you? What's the promised land? Draw a map of what you think the promised land is. And if they think God promised them something, then that's what they're inevitably going to try to get. They've been trying to get that for years. And so they look at all this land around them in these countries as land that God promised to them, right? And so there's no chance of peace there. Okay, so I just wanted to address a little bit more about the Journey series. Now, first of all, I have them, and, I would have to upload them. Again, there's 139 of them. And without the kind of speed I need in internet, if I get access to higher speeds, and I would want to devote some time into uploading them. But also, I just can't upload them somewhere else and not get compensated. People leave suggestions and they just don't know what they're talking about. Like, they don't think about it through, my perspective. Like people said, well, you can just put it on Patreon, but Patreon doesn't have web hosting services. Patreon has only, I can put YouTube videos or some other videos from somewhere else. And like I don't know what other sites I could link to. I know you can put YouTube videos up on Patreon. Patreon sucks, and I'm trying to ease out of that. I've already moved to the membership program on YouTube. But Patreon I'm not a fan of Patreon. And so I could put it up on another website and make it a paid per, whatever it is. But I have people who are members and they'd be paying twice. And, that sucks for them, considering I've been posting the Journey series there early. It's all those things. And I'm going to post the rest of the Journey series here, the new ones. And I'll keep on doing it where I post them and make them available to members for a week or two before I make them public. And so that'll continue. But in terms of me uploading all these things, it's not what I end up doing well. And it's kind of a tragedy, or kind of I don't want to say tragedy, or kind of a bummer that this has happened that way. Heartfulness sucks and Dodgy sucks. But it's within their legal right to do a copyright. And I, of course, could have fought that. But if I lost, then I would have lost the channel, because I would have lost it to copyright strikes. And so that was why I had to delete the videos. Because, yeah, I could have fought it. And, I can fight things in the future with them over, if I decide to post some of their content. And, they're within their right. It's their content that they've created to do that. But it's a dick move on their part because their content's all over the internet. And I posted it for years in the Journey series. Only when I started naming Comlish by name and naming Gratefullness by name in these other videos did they start to freak out again. And so, this is them being weak because criticism is a part of the Sizemore system. And I go into that in great detail in a video on my other channel. That is, all that content is also can be considered Journey series videos. As I said earlier, it's linked in the description box of any of my videos. You can find the channel entitled Exposing, where is the thing here? Exposing the Heartfulness Cult Dodgy Scam. And so there's lots of content there already. I've already put up a few more videos. I'm going to look through some of the older videos and maybe see if I can edit out the copyright material, and then it'll just be whatever, right? I have a Journey series video that's going to come up tomorrow, about 140th edition. On this channel, I've taken out anything that could be considered copyright infringement. And I'll still be making content for the Journey series, probably like one a week like I've been doing. So pretty soon there'll be lots of stuff for people to watch. People are saying they go to sleep listening to the Journey series. They can go on my new channel and do that because there's new content that's basically the same as the Journey series. It's mostly focused on Heartfulness and the system there, but I also talk about the truth of the real positions in the Sizemore system. In any organization, any person, you have to figure out how you're going to deal with criticism, how you're going to deal with adversity. And, the system there, they've tried to protect Dodgy. They're giving him the Joe Biden treatment, where they surround him with yes men. They handpicked his interviews and things that they ask questions that they themselves provide. And they never address any of the controversy, the Brighter Minds scam or anything else. And so that's just a weak way to do things. And it's not the Sizemore way. It's not the divine way, right? Inevitably, there's a building animosity amongst former practitioners of Sizemore because Dodgy's basically taken this system and run it into the ground in this cult called Heartfulness. And so there's a lot of people that are getting angry and they're pissed off at him and the whole, group of people over there. And that's not going to go away. And when you suppress it and you gaslight people and you intimidate them and you don't let them speak their piece and you do things like try to undercut and censor me, it just keeps on building. Like people get more and more pissed off and, there's been consequences. Me deleting the Journey series is, another blemish on their weakness and their cult-like behaviors. I mean, it's the things that cults do, which I covered in my video yesterday. But anyhow, that's, eventually I'll figure out something to do with the original versions of the Journey series one way or another. I'm saying this because a lot of people, like some people said that was their favorite thing on the internet. So there'll just be more of it here. Like it's not going away. Like I said, I'll have a video I'll upload tomorrow, probably make that one public, and I'll just go from there. Only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount, definitely important for the apocalypse. And the ascension, everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.